you done? He fuck up the land. The way how he fucking up, causing confusion. You fuck up the judiciary and plan body. You fuck up the bitch leg and making them cake. You fuck up the treasury and planting baji. You don't have no class, money lal go bust your ass. Rowley, you fuck up Trinbago, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up. Rowley, you fuck up Trinbago, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up. Rowley must go, Rowley must go, Rowley must go, yes, Rowley must go, Rowley must go, yes, Rowley must go, Rowley must go, yes, Rowley must go. Like he have a plan to fuck up the Indians, like this man crazy, he want to fuck up all our we. It is very sad, Rowley like he mad, he fucking up at will, like he mentally ill. You fuck up Sandal Hotel and plan Sorrel. You fuck up Jag and Gas and plane up in your ass. You fuck up TTT and plan Karali. You doing what you want, by all your mother. Rowley, you fuck up Trinbago, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up. Rowley, you fuck up Trinbago, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up. Rowley must go, Rowley must go, Rowley must go, yes, Rowley must go, Rowley must go, yes, Rowley must go, Rowley must go, yes, Rowley must go.
Rowley must go, Rowley must go.
Yo, this
Rowley
is
must
Massive
go.
Go-Side.
Rowley
Wicked
must
and wild.
go.
Why do?
We fuck it up,
What you do?
we fuck it up,
Why do?
we fuck it up,
What you do?
we fuck it up.
Rowley, you fuck up Trinbago, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up. Rowley, you fuck up Trinbago, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up. From Sivas to Mayaro, you fuck up Trinbago. From Sango to Tobago, you fuck up Trinbago. Rowley, you fuck up Trinbago, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up. Rowley mama planting can long time now, but now she all and tired, she feeling how she passed the mantle to she's done without any doubt. Now Rowley on the digging and talking all about. You fuck up the Cabos and plant cassava, fuck up Tyrannosaurus and plant hot pepper, fuck up the refinery and plant celery. You even gone so far to fuck up Gary. Rowley, you fuck up Trinbago, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up. Rowley, you fuck up Trinbago, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up.
Rowley must go, Rowley must go, Rowley must go,
Yes,
Rowley must go, Rowley must go,
yes,
Rowley must go, Rowley must go,
yes,
Rowley must go.
That Nimakaram, he fucking all about. Look how he fuck up, east, west, north and south. Any side you turn, he fuck up the land. The way how he fucking up, causing confusion. You fuck up the judiciary and plan body. You fuck up the bitch leg and making them cake. You fuck up the treasury and planting baji. You don't have no class, money lal go bust your ass. Rowley, you fuck up Trinbago, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up. Rowley, you fuck up Trinbago, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up.
Rowley must go, Rowley must go, Rowley must go,
Yes,
Rowley must go, Rowley must go,
yes,
Rowley must go, Rowley must go,
yes,
Rowley must go.
like he have a plan to fuck up the Indians. Like this man crazy, he want to fuck up all our we. It is very sad, Rowley like he mad, he fucking up at will, like he mentally ill. You fuck up Sandal Hotel and plan Sorrel. You fuck up Jag and Gas and plane up in your ass. You fuck up TTT and plan
government is not closing down Petrotrin. And in case you were just opening your fridge and you didn't hear that when you closed the door, let me repeat it. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is not closing down Petrotrin. The government is not closing down Petrotrin. And in case you were just opening your fridge and you didn't hear that when you closed the door, let me repeat it. The government of Trinidad and Tobago is not closing down Petrotrin.
There's been very clear that all the employees of Petrotrin will exit the company. All. So do we get that clear so that nobody has to call me about 10 o'clock in the night to find me? How many of us going again? How many of them going again? All.
The government is today standing by its selection for the sale of the Petrotrin refinery. Finance Minister Colin Imbert announced in Parliament that Patriotic Energies and Technologies Company Limited, which is wholly owned by the Oilfields Workers Trade Union, was chosen as the preferred bidder. Today, the Finance Minister assured the decision was made in the best interest of the country. The government is standing by its selection for the sale of the Petrotrin refinery. Finance Minister Colin Imbert announced in Parliament that Patriotic Energies and Technologies Company Limited, which is wholly owned by the Oilfields Workers Trade Union, was chosen as the preferred bidder.
The refinery has a profound effect on the GDP of Trinidad and Tobago. The refinery production has a profound effect on our national GDP. And therefore, our primary focus is to get it up and running as quickly as possible. Patriotic, who offered $700 million, expect to get revenue from the economic activity that is created by the startup of the refinery, from income tax, from value-added tax, from the spin-off multiplier effect in the communities around the refinery, and from the payments when they start to pay us.
It was an international call for request for proposal. It was evaluated by a multidisciplinary high-level team. It boiled down to three companies with binding bids, and Patriotic, through a transparent process, has been determined to be the preferred bidder.
People have asked the question as to if the refinery was so unprofitable over the years, why should anybody believe that a new entity can make it profitable? And there's a simple answer to that. The refinery is saddled with huge debt, billions of dollars of debt. Any person taking it over now will not have to carry that debt. People have asked the question as to if the refinery was so unprofitable over the years, why should anybody believe that a new entity can make it profitable? And there's a simple answer to that.
When the refinery is being operated, they earn enough foreign exchange from sales, so that they earn more foreign exchange from the sales of refined products from fuel, from gasoline and diesel, than it costs them to purchase the crude to put through the refinery. So they were net foreign exchange. When the refinery is being operated, they earn enough foreign exchange from sales, so that they earn more foreign exchange from the sales of refined products from fuel, from gasoline and diesel, than it costs them. So they were net foreign exchange. When the refinery is being operated, they were net foreign exchange.
You are refining other people's oil, buying it at over 100,000 barrels per day, refining it in our refinery, guaranteed to lose between $7 and $15 a barrel. In restructuring it, we saved ourselves a downgrade and possibly a huge devaluation of our currency. Because August 2018, the Minister of Finance had to find a check for $850 million US.
When the refinery is being operated, they earn enough foreign exchange from sales, so that they earn more foreign exchange from the sales of refined products from fuel, from gasoline and diesel, than it costs them to purchase the crude to put through the refinery. So they were net foreign exchange.
to service that $850 million US debt. We would have ended up in an IMF program. We would have ended up with a devaluation of the currency, and we would have ended up with a quality of life in this country that we had not anticipated in any small measure.
Then, if that were true, and Dr. Rowley's statements were genuine, then why is there no evidence of any subvention to keep the company afloat in 2016, 17, and 18? And when they were paid in 2019, $1.2 billion from the Ministry of Finance, that was specifically to pay severance. So, are we being run by a government with integrity? Is the public interest being served by officers duly elected who are concerned about the welfare of the least privileged, or are they ambitiously seeking to become the most privileged? When you are lied to and have to pay triple for the price of oil and gas, when we had a company that could have produced and exported and kept our economy on a robust and vibrant status, how do you feel?
Rowley must go. Rowley must go.
This
Rowley
is
must
massive
go.
outside.
Rowley
Wicked
must
and wild.
go.
Why do?
Fuck it up.
What they do?
Fuck it up.
Why do?
Fuck it up.
What they do?
Fuck it up.
Rowley, you fuck up Trinidad, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up. Rowley, you fuck up Trinidad, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up. From Sivas to Mayaro, you fuck up Trinidad. From Sango to Tobago, you fuck up Trinidad. Rowley, you fuck up Trinidad, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up. Rowley mama planting garden long time now, but now she all and tired, she feeling how she passed the mantle to she's done now without any doubt. Now Rowley on the digging and walking all about. You fuck up the Cabosta and plant cassava, fuck up Tyrannosaurus and plant hot pepper, fuck up the refinery and plant celery. You even gone so far to fuck up Gary. Rowley, you fuck up Trinidad, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up. Rowley, you fuck up Trinidad, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up.
Rowley must go. Rowley must go. Rowley must go.
Yes,
Rowley must go. Rowley must go.
yes,
Rowley must go. Rowley must go.
yes,
Rowley must go.
The Macaram, he fucking all about. Look how he fuck up, east, west, north and south. Inside your turn, he fuck up the land. The way how he fucking up, cause it's not jam. You fuck up the good
You're my
You fuck up the bitch leg and making that cake. You fuck up the treasury and planting baji. You don't have no class, money lal go bust your ass. Rowley, you fuck up Trinidad, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up. Rowley, you fuck up Trinidad, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up.
Rowley must go. Rowley must go. Rowley must go.
Yes,
Rowley must go. Rowley must go.
yes,
Rowley must go. Rowley must go.
yes,
Rowley must go.
Like he have a plan to fuck up the Indians. Like this man crazy, he want to fuck up all our we. It is very sad. Rowley like he mad. He fucking up at will like he mentally ill. You fuck up Sandal Hotel and plan Sorrel. You fuck up Jag and Gas and play up in your ass. You fuck up the TT and plan Karaili. You doing where you want, but you call your mother. Rowley, you fuck up Trinidad, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up. Rowley, you fuck up Trinidad, you fuck it up, 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 you fuck it up.
Rowley must go. Rowley must go. Rowley must go.
Yes,
Rowley must go. Rowley must go. Yes, Rowley must go.
For anything, the person who put me out regretted it. I'm here in this pain and crowd, and I think I better confess something to you. Those who know me very well will know what I'm saying to you now. I didn't really want this job. I didn't want this job. I want to tell you something. I'm from Miswal in Tobago. Miswal very close to Lekoto. The last time I was put out of anywhere for anything, the person who put me out regretted it. Remember I was in the cabinet? I took issue over the behavior of Calderhart and Udicop. And what happened to me? I was put out of the cabinet. The person who put me out regretted it. The last time I was put out of anywhere for anything, the person who put me out regretted it. The person who put me out regretted it. The person who put me out regretted it. I think I better confess something to you. Those who know me very well will know what I'm saying to you now. I didn't really want this job. I didn't want this job.
Yes, indeed, of course, a pleasant good night to all and sundry East West. Now, but it's just come a standing joke that Rowley saying that he didn't want the job. Well, in fact, he has indicated it publicly about 3 times since, of course, similar to he the only person that would have caught COVID about 3 times. Well, 3 seems to be the number that is favorite to him that he could call. But he said that to us, of course, early in the game, before he became prime minister, and the most despotic, the most evil, the most wickedest, the most diabolical, the most self-serving, the most heinous and hideous. Yes, 2 terms that can be aptly ascribed to Dr. Rowley. Having regard, of course, not only to his countenance, I mean, face only a mother with love, but at the same time, his ugly heart and his ugly brain and his ugly intent and his, of course, ugly management of Trinidad and Tobago's affairs has, of course, qualified him to be designated as such. That being as it may, let us look at whether or not this man really didn't want the job. Well, if you didn't want the job, how come you brought those false emails created by you and the entire scenario surrounding it? Because it's not just the emails, people, that cause him to cause the population to be hoodwinked, to be deceived, and of course, having gotten where he wanted to be, manipulate the system in the institutions in order to stay there and continue so to do. And if we give him another opportunity, he will do so, because right now they are contemplating and planning how they could stay in office, because they know it's blue lights and silver bracelets, that's for sure. And they know too that the UNC and Kamala Prasad Bisasa are far, far, far brighter than them, because imagine in opposition, not only has the opposition gotten the most handsome number in terms of the consequence of the 2 major elections, the 2 national elections that came before, not only that, 18 and now 19 seats, but they have caused Rowley to act beyond his pernicious intent, and that is to say, the the opposition was able to get Rowley through the Privy Council to call an election earlier than he planned, and his entire plans are now unraveling to the point where he is in a state of discombobulation. But let's go to the lines immediately. A pleasant good night to all and sundry, east, west, north, south, central, our friends in Tobago, and wherever you are, streaming on the World Wide Web. A pleasant good day to you. Yes, so this is the Corridor Transformation, your host, LENNOX Smith, on this Sunday night. A pleasant good night.
Pleasant good night, Mr. Lennox.
Yes, good night to you, my friend.
Pleasant good night to the right thinking citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Lennox.
Hey.
You see this Dragon Field deal?
Yes.
The Prime Minister was running up, down, and everything paused up. Well, my view on it, I believe that that plane that the Americans seized from this dictator.
Yes.
Right? I believe sooner than later, this is just my view, I'm speaking for myself here, that they will remove that guy from the head of the Venezuelan government, and they will install some other president there, because I see it on different occasions around the world. And after that, this guy here, we call him the Prime Minister. Now I just try to split it up in two different aspects so we to understand, right?
Yes, no problem, man. You go right ahead.
The first thing we had was the Petrotrin, the closer of Petrotrin, right?
Yes, a major disservice to the people. Go ahead.
Then we come and we have some men was murdered in a pipeline.
Yes, 4 of them.
Right, but when you think about it, they were the Prime Minister Gary Sobers, which is an insult to Gary Sobers, eh? The Prime Minister
I agree.
Sobers,
Now that you put it in that perspective, I agree.
Yeah, that's an insult to Gary Sobers. The Prime Minister Gary Sobers said they had to get some pipelines to run from the Dragon Field to where the oils or the natural gas supposed to be pumped in, which is over by us, right? In our energy sector. Now the pipeline now that the man was murdered in, which they was tampering with, right? Then it adding up to where this barge we had been passing right through in Tobago with oil to go to wherever it's going in Trinidad, allegedly.
Yeah, in Trinidad's waters, yeah.
Right.
Off
Turn
Tobago,
over,
yes.
spill all over the place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have an influx of Venezuelan coming in here. The borders open, they're doing what they want. The Americans said they do not accept Venezuelan migrants because they does not give them a record on their whereabouts in their country, so they do not accept them.
Right.
We accepted them. So it shows plainly that the Prime Minister sell his soul, he done sell it already, in order for that deal to go on. But Dr. Rowley would never see that deal. Although it is profitable for our country to put back our country on the economic map, if so to speak, he would never see that deal because Dr. Rowley cannot get back this country on its foot when he is the man that destroyed it. Because he made the country and nobody could challenge me. When Dr. Rowley take this country, Dr. Rowley explained us the amount of money that the former administration left in different ministries, in the treasury, in the stabilization fund. And right now, we have everything gone. It's only borrowing gone up to the sky. So it shows plainly that he is incapable of running a country in the way it's supposed to be run, where the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago would benefit from. So Dr. Rowley is not fit to get that deal, and he will never see that deal because the deal that the Americans had with Maduro to have fair elections, he break the rules and they put back sanctions where they cannot do the deal or let the deal be completed.
Yes.
And who could say now that any one of these people who vying for president in the United States would remove it after the United States announced that they do not recognize Maduro as the president of Venezuela. So the deal would never happen under Dr. Rowley, but he done sell his soul, but he still wouldn't see the deal. And in my book, Dr. Rowley is going to leave that throne worse than how he messed up his partner, which was Patrick Augustus Moving Manning, may so rest in peace. He will leave worse than that.
Yes.
That is my prediction.
Yes, that is karma. They call it karma. They call it poetic justice.
Yeah,
they call it justice. I mean, it is
worse than that.
Yeah.
So I say all of that to say that the soul he sell, he would never see that deal because they're going to get rid of Maduro sooner and later. It'll start with a plane because I was doing a little research today and understanding what is taking place. They'll start with a plane and then they just remove you from on the head and there's installed one there, and then we don't want this man in none of our affairs in trying to bring back something that he damaged.
Yeah.
So I just say, let me bring that to your attention. I know if how I run it, if you will understand or the people understand, but I know people understand what
yes,
I mean.
I'm sure because it's fairly straightforward. You're saying in very simple terms that eventually Maduro will have to go, and of course Dr. Rowley, having of course committed himself and so many times, the deal of the century is something that nobody else could have done. I mean, he has given himself so much self-praises on this thing. It is too numerous to remember or count. But at the end of the day, just as Sandals, just as the Sea Bridge, just as Petrotrin and the promise of a better, productive, patriotic, Heritage. Sorry, Patriot is the company that was formed by UWTU, but Heritage Company. All the promises have gone south, meaning that they have been disappointing and or collapse. So this is another prediction that is fair, it is rational, it is common sense, and I'm sure that having made an input as well, I'm sure that everybody would have understood where you're coming from.
And I will leave you with this.
Go ahead.
I'll leave the listeners with this. You ever expecting some money and you ain't get it? And because you're expecting it, that you feel sure you would have get it, you start to spend labash.
Yes.
And the labash you spend put you in a predicament that only the money you was expecting to get could put you back on the map.
Yes.
But I just with Dr. Rowley do to Trinidad.
Of course, because and the thing about it is, just to add, that the money would have gone to friends, family, and themselves. It had nothing to do with, of course, equitably distributing in the interest of Trinidad and Tobago. And that's where he has fallen, awfully short. And his prediction, his anticipation, has now, of course, not just unraveled, but as you rightly said, it has collapsed. And in such circumstance, he cannot blame anyone else. Of course, he's attempting so to do because that is how a criminal will operate. Blame everyone else except, of course, themselves for robbing the old lady down the road or engaging, of course, in some kind of kidnapping, or indeed, as the phenomenon goes now, the whole question of home invasion. And you'll hear them saying it's somebody else and not them, even though, of course, you catch them on the scene, you catch them with the articles in their hand, just as Rowley. You see them, doing it to the people blatantly, and they will still try to tell us it is not so. Tonight, of course, we will look at some of those again as well. But I thought I should be a little more nostalgic in, of course, bringing back some of the utterances made by Rowley when he was a freshly mint, when, of course, he was opposing his former boss, the late Patrick Manning, and nobody knew him really, but now we know him to the hilt. He cannot escape the wrath of the people ultimately.
All right, Mr. Lennox, thank you very much for allowing me.
Yes, thank you very much for engaging us, because, these kinds of discussions are crucial and important. Let's go see another call here. Let me just end that one, and let me see now. A pleasant good night. Let me see if it's
good night,
all right, good night. I thought it was a different person. Yes, go ahead, my friend.
Well, here we have some good news for the people in I see the file injunction against Udicot.
All right, great. That is great news.
And the court granted the injunction.
And the court granted. Good.
Yeah, so Udicot can't go and defend nothing like them.
Because that is about, frankly, trying to get in close proximity to the election that is inevitable, to get slush fund to, of course, fund their campaign and to complete Balize House. That is what that is about. The conman at the helm, both Dr. Rowley and Udicot chairman Noel Garcia, they are corrupted to the hilt. And there is no doubt, and all the evidence is there. They could jump by, they could jump to you. See, as soon as the outer office, I know for sure, this fella, the head of Udicot now and AGC, I talk about Noel Garcia, you see he hop a plane and go in some far off country in Africa. But the world is a smaller place now, the globe is a smaller place, and Interpol and other international law enforcement agencies will catch up with him on this occasion. He can't go and hide and then come back and play that he's lily white when he believes that the PNM has some political currency. Because I believe all their currency would have been exhausted by the time Rowley leaves office. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, and you see what they want in to Dubai? To put some kind of sport.
Sport, tennis, swimming pool, to try to lure people with these aesthetic.
How you could put
it's sounding nice.
You could put some sports about food,
on such arable land, such productive lands.
And it's nice agricultural land. You can't take agricultural land to put sporting. Look how much sporting facilities we have in this country that spark up and they're doing nothing. That's only facilitate them big boys and them,
let me tell you something. Tomorrow, tomorrow I'll be delivering to Udicot and any other agency that is responsible for the construction of community centers, libraries, these other facilities such as the tennis court and the swimming pools. I'll be asking one, how much? Two, how much they cost? Three, the names of the contractors. I know that will be a sore point because they would know where I'm coming from. But I'll be asking that as from tomorrow. I know that they have 30 days in which to respond. Failing which, of course, there are other mechanisms that can be triggered within the confines of the law. The law provides for certain remedial or remedies if they do not respond. But that is where I'm going tomorrow. Go ahead, my friend.
And you will see how much money that's going to cost the people in this country.
Yes, exactly. That is what. We leave them there, let them run, because when dogs suck an egg, they have a propensity to believe that the egg is, of course, is unlimited. Well, they don't have an unlimited amount of time. It's 5 years, and the 5 years has come to an end. And we want to know all of what they would have done in order to treat. And I'm going to tell you this, you know what I anticipate? The company that had its offices on the compound of Balize House. Right now, it has its offices. It has a containerized office. It is now on that HGC project just before the flyover on the Eastern Main Road. I am certain that company will be there in that report several times. If they decided to, of course, be true and be legitimate and be serious and give the information that is required. We know them to want to try to find ways to keep back information by saying it's private this and private that, and that is not subjected to, of course, the freedom of information. We know all of that. So we are going to test it and then, of course, make our move. Yeah.
I hope people start to wake up and do the same thing to this government by right around.
They're gonna get it. They're gonna get it. Evil cannot prevail. Yeah. Evil cannot prevail. Yeah. I could well imagine. Yeah. Concrete jungle they creating now. For friends and family. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll stand up and listen. I'll look on and listen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my friend. I see somebody called before the program started from the United States or Father Appeal. Well, of course, we are on now, my friend. I know you're a bit anxious, but we start at 8, and 8 sharp we try to be. So I'm sure that you are locked on at this point in time. All right, my friend. Thank you. Yes, indeed. So, people, we have a lot of work to do. As I said, the cliche is, the analogy is, the maxim is that leave them alone and they will be set in their ways. And then they will have no choice not even to be able to defend. We catch them. Their asses are grasses, people. This is what we will do them. And they will have, thanks to the opposition when it was in office, the Freedom of Information Act, and of course the other social justice pieces of legislation only by the UNC. Only by the UNC to give the people accountability by those who would have acquired office, whether it's UNC, whether it's anybody else, including the PNM. But they believe that they can be above. Good night, my friend. Pleasant good night.
How are you tonight?
Well, I'm good as could be in this circumstance, but I'm sure I'll feel better when I hear your contribution.
Lovely.
Yes.
My contribution is I only see on your program is only teeth you're showing me. Them faces. You had Donna Cox.
Yes.
You had Camille, that's our teeth, $160,000 without any assignments to the bank. That is a big teeth. And then you have Al Rowley, 23 million per year.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Am I right?
Go ahead. Yes, you're right. You're going correct. Right. And that's the purpose of it. Let them know who are the persons who are destroying our economy and our treasury.
Exactly.
Yes.
And people suffering.
Yes, and people suffering in the process, yes.
Our grandfather, which was Lionel Frank Thief Sukaran.
Yes.
This is how he become a thief too, you know. It stems from the parents.
Yeah. Birds of feather flock together. It's a criminal enterprise.
That's right.
Of a mafia.
Enterprise. Yeah. The mafia.
Yeah, distinction, yeah.
You see, when Rowley said the man that put me out of parliament, you see what happened to him?
Yeah.
But Rowley share behind, you know. Rowley share behind.
Yes.
That
just
woman
a matter of
clean the bottom, you know.
Yeah, just a matter of time.
Yeah.
What's sweet in goat mouth, sour in the bam bam. We have seen that over and over, yes.
You're sure right, Lennox. That is the damn thing sells.
Yes.
I believe in that. But you know what? I'll tell you something. All we need to do is bind together, put one head to that wheel, and make sure let the people know in Trinidad and Tobago what is this. Look what they do. They run quite in Tobago to ransack the man's house. For what?
Yes.
For what? You have crime, blood flooding the place all around. The next jackass, the DCP, he talking about what? Crime is very low. Lennox, where he lives in Imona. Oh, he lives in
he probably just arrived from the sun.
You look so.
That's all I can
Hey,
say.
Lennox,
The sun is on a
Lennox,
planet, but you know, I was wishing that such individual would have been consumed by the intolerable heat to human flesh and so on. But say what? He's here. We have to tolerate that nonsense, but it's just a matter of time.
It's a matter of time.
Yes.
And then you have the commissioner of police. She said, pray.
Yeah.
You know, nobody don't pray and God does bring a box of groceries for you, you know. You have to get up and...
Of course, because she forget that part of the Bible that says he helped those who help them.
Seek and you shall find, and knock and it shall be open unto you.
That's right.
Right? Am I right?
You're quite right. You're quite right. He helped those who help themselves.
Yes. Them, they have no education. They have no even common sense. How could you run a country with telling people, oh, pray to God, when you lost in your life innocently?
Well, Rowley himself, being a victim of his own, let's say, advice or admonitions, has said that in such circumstance, you have to say something, so them say something. But of course, there is also a cliche that says, it's best you hush your mouth if you know you're an ass. Best you hush your mouth rather than opening your mouth and removing all doubts. So that is what is happening with these people. They are removing all doubts by opening the mouth. Shut your blasted mouth. You have nothing to say. I heard that. I heard, read, and viewed that press conference. It was the most irksome thing, but you had to do it because you know you want to be informed so that we could respond and we could dialogue. But of course, a specific question was asked of Hines, should I say the brittle minister, because you don't know if he's actually minister or not, because the most important part of our national security ministerial portfolio was taken from him, that is the police and so on. So we don't know. But the point I'm making is, he was asked this specific question. Rowley said, and I want to commend the journalists for the first time. They're getting at least some vesticular and testicular fortitude now. I suppose they too smell the fact that their days are numbered and therefore they could talk not as how they would have spoken, let's say when they were in midterm and so on, when they had a handle on the conversation and the narrative and talking about the government. So they asked him a question. Rowley said that if a government cannot handle crime, it is part of the problem and therefore must resign. So so they asked the question, a woman journalist asked Hines the question, you know, up to now, this man didn't answer that question. He went all over the place. He talked about philosophy. He talked about what the deputy commissioner of police said, what the commissioner of police said, and up to now he answered the question because he knows that is a moral question that was asked, whether or not the government will resign now that the crime is much more than even when Kamala was there, even when Pandey was there, even when Manning, even when Robinson was there, even when his predecessor, talking about Chambers, was there. Oh, how come you ain't contemplating to resign? How come you ain't talking no kind of talk, but still telling us that, listen, as the situation emerge and evolve, we will, of course, treat with it. That is not the answer to a direct question, such as, if it is, you cannot handle, and if it is escalating, then you should haul your tail out of office. That is what the answer has to be. But no, he wants to defend the indefensible, but of course making himself in the process a consummate and compound backside, or put another way, an ass. But go ahead.
He's an international jackass.
Yes. All of that will be appropriate, because that is what they are. They can't do nothing for saying that, because when you go to court and you tell them a man asks you a direct question such as that, and you can bring the evidence where Rowley said what he said, and you going round the mulberry bush and you're going back to philosophy, what the Greeks say, etc., and you still ain't answer the question, you know that you are gaslighting, or you're trying to tomfool, or you're fooling yourself. And therefore you are an ass. Go ahead.
Well, here now, Lennox, I heard Donna Cox say something. She said that I would. no matter if you reach your age, you're not compelling to get that pension. Like she father own that.
And they always have this, what I consider to be moral decadence, because they are decrepit. They are people who would say something today, and then of course the religionists will call them what situational ethics individual, where they say something today that may sound correct, but tomorrow they will say something opposite depending on their circumstance, especially when they know that they have erred, when they know that they are caught with their pants down or skirt down or petticoat down. I don't want to say panty, but that be as it may. That is the reality, and they come across like consummate buffoons. And I'm being kind to them. Go ahead.
Remember during the COVID, she said what? The people are hungry.
Yeah, and that they're greedy.
Remember that?
And that they're greedy.
They're greedy.
Your job is to raise an alarm. Your job is to set up a red flag when you see people lining up on the highway to get hampers and so on during the COVID. And you make a statement like that, and they have the audacity and the temerity to believing that they could neutralize it and make things right and honky-dory by visiting some destitute family and delivering some hampers and get the media to come and cover that, and they believe that they solve that problem and that they are outside of the scrutiny or the gaze of the population, and the population wouldn't remember the nonsense and the evil that they spoke. I see that I've lost that call, so we are talking. So I have no difficulty. But people, of course, we are a bit nostalgic tonight and looking at some of the issues. And I want you to take note. It was not by accident that I played the clip with respect to closing Petrotrin. I want you to note the three things, because it is designed in such a way so that we make it very conspicuous and obvious. One, Rowley saying that he not closing, but then of course Imbert come and say that the oil refinery was making money, it was a net earner, and then of course you have one of the activists respected, one of the George, one of the Aboud, saying, well, listen, you really didn't spend no money. The only money you spend is for severance. When of course you would have, should I say, illogically closed down Petrotrin. They have a lot of people. Good night. Good night. Boy. Well, of course, we are talking as usual, and we are extrapolating, and we are seeing more and more on a daily basis that these people are collapsing on themselves. They sound to me like an amoeba. They really have no bones and no what I consider to be substance. They're just wiggling and fiddling all over the place. Go ahead.
Well, I see the TTPS make a big dent in crime. They take down a big boss tonight. The boss of all bosses on the LENNOX.
Who's that?
All the crime situations solved now. Right?
Who they take down?
Christmas list.
Oh my goodness.
3 times they arrest the man now. 3 times. They harassment.
They arrest him again?
Yeah, he in jail right now.
What the hell is this? Yeah, well,
Rowley
and them is thin-skinned people. They can't take criticism. I don't know. I mean, I call it Rowley for 3 years. For the past 9 years. A rapist and a pedophile, and they won't come. And of course, I've said recently that he will be assassinated if he conducts himself like Maduro, losing the elections handsomely and trying, of course, to force or impose himself on the people. He will be assassinated, because those very elements that the police are concerned about, they have a sense of justice, And if it is that they want to equalize the unfairness of this government, especially in a circumstance where it is clear that they lost the election, and he tried what Maduro is engaging in Venezuela, Rowley will be assassinated. Go ahead, my friend.
Well, it seems the police have plenty time on their hands to arrest a blogger rather than the whole criminals, right? So I'll leave it that day.
Yeah.
I see Stuart Young was at the convention for women, the PNM Women Convention. And boy, the man come and ramage, boy. Some new oil company coming in China to do exploration, right? Because BP pull out.
Right.
Here what his logic is. BP, right, was spending plenty money to go and do these exploration.
Right.
And he make an assessment like this. He said BP was spending $100. This other company, I forget the name he called it, the company name.
Yes.
He said them go come and do the job for $50. So they go do twice the amount of work and they go get through. I said, but what stupidly illiterate people this man talking to there, boy? And he damning BP like a BP some kind of, some kind of
and just the other day they were being praised. Just the other day they were being praised. No,
I want to know if this man listening to himself, relax.
No difference to so many instances where they would have condemned because things weren't in their favor, and then of course the very companies, for example, he said that they were engaged in cartel type illegal access. Same today now. Even of course constructing Balize House. Constructing Balize House too contributed to Balize House.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they giving help to Balize House with materials and assistance in building it.
These
people are stripping outside here.
Idiotic. I don't know if you can use the word idiotic nincompoop, but I think if it's twice as much, then so be it. These idiotic nincompoops. Go ahead.
He said the first two candidates for the election next year is in Tobago, East and West. Ayana Repster Roy and Shamfa Kujo Lewis. That was the first two candidates. They go wipe off Fali and Duke up there, and we're going to win them to the seat. I said, look at this man, boy.
They said that in the past. They said that in 21. So we know what they are saying. They don't believe what they're saying. They say it, of course, without reservation, only to, as I say, impress and to hoodwink and to deceive and to engage, of course, in what I consider to be cacophonous babblings. But let the jackasses bray. And, of course, at the end of the day, the result, the proof of the pudding is in their loss handsomely. And I expect some surprises in Trinidad as well along the East-West corridor. But I'm not going to reveal as yet.
He started the election and all that.
Yeah, of course, a long time.
Your children, and your sister, and your brother, and your neighbor, and your friends. Tell them start the election here and start talking about the PNM. You have to put the PNM back in power again for the next 5 years. And I want to know if these people are so stupid to put them back in the suffer more.
And we only have no indication that he's leaving, even though he said it on 3 occasions before that he's leaving. He loved the position, and of course, he also told us in the beginning that he didn't want the work, but of course, lied, exposed himself to treason, the highest offense in any country, criminal offense that anybody could attract in any country. That is what he did in the parliament with these fake emails that he concocted, choreographed, and then presented in such a despicable way to bring down our government. He will get a share. They will get their share, several shares. That is inevitable. But go ahead, my friend.
And I see tonight, before I go, the people and them who died, the young boy and the young girl, at the hands of some relative, they come out on candlelight vigil. I tell all you gonna be lighting candlelight vigil from now till the election call. And all you calling out all your representatives, all your party who in power, the government, the national security minister, the commissioner of police, all these individuals who are responsible for your safety. You're only coming and talking about God go do this. God ain't doing nothing. Where all the pastors and them? Where all them? Where all the religious leaders? All them honky dory. Some of them getting the business fixed up. So that's why you ain't hear them speaking out on nothing. But let the other government was in power. You see all them crying wolf tomorrow morning, Kamala this, Kamala that. They don't talk nothing. They're taking a pill, the suffering silence syndrome pill, and the quiet silence is the code. They're keeping them all quiet.
Yeah, for them,
you coming
silence
and
is the
talking
code,
about
yeah.
what God had intervened. God ain't going to intervene once your religious leaders in acting up here. They're too quiet, relax. Them is the one
Let me tell you
responsible
this.
to speak out.
I have a prediction that time is critical in these matters. The religious and the men and women of the cloth in Trinidad and Tobago will have no choice. They will they are faced with evil. They are faced with a diabolical, savage, and reckless group of individuals led by a man that clearly has lost and ought not to have been prime minister in the first place. And they will have no choice, because whether they are convicted by a higher force or higher spirit or higher being, they will come out and speak. We have seen some signs of that already. But just as the trade unions who were reluctant, just as the Calypsonians who were reluctant, they will have no choice, because it is too blatant, it's too conspicuous, it's too transparent, it's too pellucid for anybody to remain silent in the fullness of time and at the appropriate time. So watch and see. I'm very optimistic that all of them will have to, of course, speak out against this evil that has engulfed the Trinidad and Tobago, led by this group of individuals who clearly are not only incompetent, impotent, but they are criminal-minded in a criminal organization or enterprise called the PNM. Go ahead.
Well, the only time I see them speaking out really is when it's our funeral and one of them members dead. Right?
Well, all of that is part of it. That is what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. So they will eventually come out and speak. I know of one or two that are planning, of course. I don't want to reveal too much, but I know one or two are planning, of course, fasting either on the steps of the Hall of Justice or in the public space in the Woodford Square and other places. So I am fully aware. Today's Sunday, and of course we try to keep it down, but we cannot afford this evil. It was that great prophet who, of course, Moses, who never relented. He was persistent when it became very obvious that Pharaoh was such a demon, and that even when plagues besetted them, as we are seeing with the PNM, because every one of them appeared to have been possessed by a plague, either the Ministry of Health. You see all these deaths, including, of course, our infants. You see the Ministry of National Security, whether it's one minister, two ministers, and their cohorts, deaths after deaths. You see, of course, in the Ministry of Social Development, where they are attempting, of course, to give people the impression that to get social welfare is a privilege and not, of course, an entitlement. We have seen that. We have ventilated that, I think, last night. And then, of course, we have in the Ministry of Agriculture, we have seen where they are talking, of course, promoting food security for Trinidad and Tobago, particularly at the domestic level. They have produced, of course, a plant in Moruga, trying to, of course, hoodwink and attempt to gaslight the people there, but it is non-functional. We have seen, of course, the Ministry of Youth promoting, of course, agriculture among youths. Let's face it, the average age of the farmer in Trinidad is about 60, 70, and therefore that generation will certainly die out soon. Let me put it that way, due to biological, chronological imperatives. Let's not waste time. Not that we want that, but that is the reality, and you have to, of course, replace that cadre with others. But then, how come you could be talking about homestead farming and encouraging and giving them a $20,000 to start farming, even though it is vastly inadequate? But you stand idly by as the youth minister and see young people's farm who were farming long before you entered into government or in that office or initiated that particular project and you remain silent. You remain silent. So it's just a matter of time. So I know the entire thing will collapse on them. And it's just that they will continue to pretend as though it's business as usual. We have seen Dr. Rowley engage in that kind of action. We have seen, of course, Heinz only, as I said yesterday, or should I say on Friday, in a press conference, totally try to obfuscate, try to avoid answering the direct question as to whether that questions Dr. Rowley's moral and ethical pillars. And of course, clearly, the answer itself leaves much to be desired, as he never answered at all, but went, of course, to the Greek and then come back to philosophy, and then, of course, give us some statistics, and then make reference, of course, to those that have operational responsibility for crime and criminality in terms of protection. And I heard one minister, I think it was Scotland, who, of course, referred to the matter in such a way that it was contradictory to what he said, but he's supposed to be a lawyer, and I took up that. I'm going to highlight it, of course, during the course of the many engagements we would have had moving forward. So I thought I should give you it in a nutshell, but at the same time sharing it with the international and domestic audience. Go ahead.
Before I go,
yes,
I finally realized why Dr. Rowley want to remove the 3 boats from the coat of arms. Because apparently he want to put it in the Coast Guard. There are no boat there again, Lennox.
There are no what? They're putting in what? In the Coast Guard?
The 3 ships on the coat of arms, he want to implement it in the Coast Guard because they have no boats laying down in Coast Guard again.
Yeah, because at that press conference, I heard the most harrowing of experience, actually admitting that we had no boats, and they're saying that, and they're still saying that it's to be repaired, to be repaired, and what is there would come on stream 2 months from now. But listen. The thing about it is,
start boating in 5 years yet, Alex.
Yeah, but no, the point I'm making is that those repairs has now been going into effect. One, but I think the most significant thing is that the opposition has been clamoring and saying why it is that you're not, and it's after 9 years. 9 years, when the horse would have left the stable. 9 years, what you hope to achieve, and always to be and will be, etc., etc., etc. I mean, these people are simply
so they're giving an invitation to all these criminals and them around the border between Trinidad and Venezuela to swim and come straight into Trinidad now.
Yeah.
You know, what they unleash.
It was so for the last 9 years as well. Clearly, because they're now looking. They're now talking Damien. They now talking Damien. They now talking Damien. They're talking Astal. But of course, Damien's were the boats that they met there. 12 of them. They're now talking, and they're now talking about logistical challenges. When in fact, it was Stuart Young who lied to the nation and said during COVID, of course, they had this person coming from Holland, because Astal is the Damien vessels are from Holland, and he said that they couldn't come in because of they couldn't come to repair them because of COVID. And then we found out that there were engineers here, there were specialists here, and in fact so much so that one went and one come during the course of COVID. But of course, Stuart Young, as Minister of National Security, obviously was unaware, but goes to the Parliament and makes a categorical statement to mislead clearly. That's the effect it would have had, the population and the Parliament, so much so that they thought they should take him to the Privileges Committee. I better play that after this, after we dispose ourselves.
All right, Lennox, have a good night.
Same to you, my friend. Same to you, my friend. Let me just find that and play it, because I think it is instructive that, of course, we had Saddam Hussein looking to, of course, attract sanctions, or should I say sanction Stuart Young for the nonsense that he spoke, when in fact it was not the case about the Damien vessels and the circumstances suggesting blaming COVID there, because any port for a storm as far as their impotence is concerned, and one has to question now why it is that they have not only now they are focusing on that. Is it that it was intentional to leave our borders open? All of that must be part and parcel of the investigations that must necessarily ensue when they get out of office at the ending of the next elections. So these are issues that cannot escape national interests, and to see the depth at which these people have exposed Trinidad and Tobago to all kinds of iniquities, both external, internal, and farther afield. And we have a duty and responsibility to say to them that they have been callous, they have been destructive, they have abandoned their role and responsibility, they have abdicated their oath of office, and should be held accountable criminally and of course and civilly, because we won back our money as well that they would have stolen from us, and I would go as far as to say to take back some of the salaries that they would have gotten, because many of them have been engaged in what is called a cynical office with pay but no work, because Rowley didn't mind utilizing taxpayers' dollars on persons who are absolutely and totally incompetent, impotent, and he himself should be made to pay back a lot of the monies that he would have gotten, because I mean the man is a total and existential, moving and human disaster, people. I'm trying in the meantime to get that particular clip. If not, I'll have to move on with the program. I'm trying to get it here. I saw it earlier in preparing, of course, tonight's program, but I seem to have lost it on the system. But certainly it would have been very interesting to see what would have been the subject of that privileges committee statement that Stuart Young would have been subjected to, based on the argument of the member for San Juan Barataria, talking about, of course, Saddam Hussein. And let me just check again and see. I might have put it in a different file. So let me see. In a file that, all right, let's go straight to the lines, and then of course I will do that. I'll check whilst of course the caller is making his or her contribution. A pleasant good night, welcome.
Blessed night, Lennox, to you and the viewers.
Yes.
Oh, Lennox.
Hey, how are you going, man? I'm putting the thing together.
You get my touch back, boy.
Yeah, no, I'm putting the thing together, and call me Tuesday morning after the program.
You know, I got a new one, and it's saying the same thing. So when I call it Tuesday, I go see the next one. We go talk now.
I will send it one time from it, so I can include it in the one that I'm doing, right? Because the more the merrier.
I tell the board, I see a protocol. I see a protocol. I don't know my personal and the board thing, and then I feel like I get booked. So we go talk about that now. We do that discussion off right now.
Okay, my friend.
So you got
yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, that is a regular caller who, of course, is very adamant that this government, well, of course, has opened up his eyes, so to speak, and has opened up the eyes of a lot of other persons. Oh, yeah, I'm seeing it now. Where, of course, the iniquities and the evil and the diabolical disposition is so pellucid, is so clear that, of course, it could only reach the deep recesses of hell. Can't use heaven in the same sentence with Rowley and his bunch of miscreants.
Licensing officers conduct search and seize belongings of Secretary James. A search warrant was issued for Assemblyman Trevor James on Thursday evening by licensing officers. The warrant alleged that James had illegally obtained an inspection sticker for his private vehicle.
During the debate on the private member's motion piloted by myself on Friday, 27 November 2020, the member for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West boldly represented to the House and made the following statement. The Daman vessels that may be down, it is because of COVID that the shipyards in Daman in Holland, and I'm going to call in the ambassador of the Netherlands next week and meet with him, because the Daman persons do not want to fly to this side of the world to do what needs to be done with some of the vessels. It was subsequently discovered in the Trinidad Express dated Thursday, 3rd December 2020, an article titled The Daman Truth by Anna Ramdas, and I quote from an email reference therein and sent from the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands to Trinidad and Tobago. To our knowledge, a Daman shipyard engineer arrived on October 19, 2020 in Trinidad and Tobago to perform maintenance tasks. He was replaced by another engineer from Netherlands on November 20th, 2020. The matter being brought is grounded on the fact that a member for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West deliberately misled this honorable House and by extension the viewing citizens of the country, as he knew or ought to have known the statement which he made was false and incorrect. According to David McGee's Parliamentary Practice in New Zealand 3rd edition, it requires 3 elements to be established: that a member is in contempt by reason of a statement that he or she has made in the House. 1. The statement must in fact have been misleading. 2. It must be established that a member making the statement knew or ought to have known at the time that the statement was made it was incorrect. And in making the statement, the member must have intended to deliberately mislead the House. It is submitted that the statement was misleading at the time the minister knew that the statement was incorrect, and the statement could have been made to deliberately mislead the House for the following reasons. 1. The member as part of his portfolio has responsibility for the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard. The member knew or ought to have known of the contractual arrangements and or other arrangements between Daman Shipyard Netherlands and Trinidad and Tobago. 3. He ought to know or have he knew or ought to have known when the engineers or persons from Netherlands responsible for repairing the TT Daman vessels would arrive in Trinidad and Tobago. 4. The member is the only person who has the responsibility to grant exemptions to persons to enter Trinidad and Tobago, as the borders are currently closed and have been closed since March 2020. The member knew or ought to have known that those engineers were in the country on October 19th and November 20th, 2020. As he is responsible for granting them an exemption and would have granted the exemptions to the engineers to enter Trinidad and Tobago. The fact that the member has personal knowledge of the facts and made a statement, there is a ready presumption of an intention to mislead the House. Based on the foregoing, the member has deliberately made a misleading statement. He has committed a contempt of the Parliament and abused his privilege as a member of this esteemed House. As such, I submit that the honourable member has committed a breach of privilege of the House. In this regard, Honourable Speaker, I refer this matter for your urgent attention and determination.
Of course, people, at the end of it all, what Cho Jong did, he went and apologized to preempt, of course, any investigation by the Privileges Committee of the House for misleading as a minister of government. But I want you to note several things, because he has not denied what Saddam Hussein has said. So therefore, just as how Rowley has not denied that he's a rapist and a pedophile, even though I am outside of the parliament and do not, of course, enjoy the privileges of a parliamentarian of protection of speech. Yes, but here it is. The Daman vessels ought to have been considered and dealt with since 2020, especially when we were on a downside, meaning that the country was locked down. And if these engineers were here, one wonders why it is that you are now saying that the Daman vessels will be made available, and of course on an incremental basis. Sometime in the future, in the ending of this year, and into next year. And of course, when they tell you the ending of this year, having regard to the assets that are being contemplated, it will never be. Election will come and it will never be. Having regard to the record of this government. But why now? It is now 9 years. All kinds of contraband, all kinds of iniquitous entities have entered the country. And the vessels that were supposed to protect our maritime, not just assets, but also and our economic zone, or maritime economic zone, could have prevented a lot of these people from coming into the country, because it's 12 vessels, sufficient, of course, to what I consider to be surround, encircle, treat with the maritime perimeter or the circumference of Trinidad and Tobago. But now you're doing that. And the only conclusion one can draw is because it was purchased by the UNC. That is why they stopped it. And of course, we heard Rowley up and down the country is saying that there is something untoward about the deal. Remember that? And who is the middleman and all of that. So he don't want to interfere with that. And of course, in the case of the 107 schools, there were no such element for him to be concerned about. Yet still, they kept those schools up to today in fallow, overtaken by native bush and vines, only because it was constructed by the UNC, only to give the impression that somehow what the UNC did, there is something wrong with it, when in fact it is a diabolical figment of their wicked, evil, nasty, pernicious, and uncanny. That is how they believe government should be. Now, mind you, if you go back now to the presentation at the Hyatt, before they came into government in 2015, presenting their manifesto, you know what these culprits, these miscreants, these asinine specimens of inhumanity, these profligates, these perfidious individuals, these betrayers, these treasonous conspirators. You know what was Rowley and Imsbert position whilst they were making a presentation of the 2015 manifesto at Hyatt? When the question was posed to them by journalists, they said in uncertain terms that if assets were bought by another administration and it is workable, they have no difficulty in, of course, continuing, suggesting that government is a continuum, not because a government builds something, you will blatantly stop it because the government built it. And just in case you believe that was not, just in case you believe that was not the modus or the motivation, simply because the UNC built them or acquired them. But you have to tell me why it is the Banlara Stadium cost, what, 300, 400 million in the beginning, and then morphed to $1 billion, and yet still you find 90 million. So you say it has to be more, but we're going to take what they say, because you know you have to take anything they say with not just a bucket full, but a truckload of salt. But let's say 90. And promote it in such a way as to make fun, make ludicrous the Queen's Park Oval, that is an iconic venue for cricket, has records after records broken there. Test matches of all kinds have played there. And trying to promote Baranara. And then for the World Cup, the people say that the damn pitch here no damn good. And therefore you want to allocate another $80 million to remedy that. I could imagine the kind of money they pay to get the authorities that organize these cricketing events to come there. We will find out. We'll find out. We'll find out unnecessarily. This is not just a travesty, you know. This is a tragedy of waste, of abuse, of high-handedness, and political suicide, because they have reached the zenith of the people's tolerance, you know. Political suicide by taking that approach, and greed, because they want their own people moving forward to, of course, put their hands in the treasury, up the cookie jar. A pleasant good night, welcome.
A pleasant good night to Lennox, to you and to everybody on the chat.
Yes.
Lennox, Hiena, that was so interesting. What you played back there with Saddam Hussein.
Yes, ma'am.
You see how we could expose their lie. We not coming here and lying on the PNM.
Of course not.
Right? Like how they just come and lie on the UNC, you know.
Just so that
like
they make up a story.
But
yeah?
I wonder if Tallman get back he cable yet, because I hear they cut the cable, you know.
Well, I'm not surprised.
Pay half.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The PNM doing them.
They will
we
try to ask Nenen and so on for
Lennox.
nothing. Yeah. Yeah. For
the
nothing.
Facts are there.
Yeah.
And today we heard facts from Dr. Monilal concerning Rowley trip to America. With Dr. Monilal is asking the question, is it a golf tournament that you and your girlfriend partners went to, and you lie to the country and say you're going for medical?
And you see, I tell people,
you see how it
just Miss Arcus, we were speculating that he went there for Labor Day and he went for that concert in the Apollo, yes, in the Apollo there. But of course, I don't be surprised if it is both. Don't be surprised. Right? Having regard to the proximity of both events.
He tried to kill 10 birds with one stone.
Yes, don't be surprised.
We paying for you to go for medical,
Yeah.
but you in a golf tournament.
Yeah.
Did he pay for that trip himself, or did the country pay for it? Did the country pay for it? And from what Dr. Monilal said, he went up first and then he girlfriend partners and then went. And don't be surprised to see when he come back a few days after the girlfriend partners coming back.
Yes.
Are they going to continue taking us for fools all this time? That is why, Lennox, we have to stand strong and put back Mrs. Pasalpi says there. The hell was with Gary Griffith and the rest of them.
That's right.
The hell was with Gary.
That's right, man. That is a salient, rational position, yes.
You know what is shameful?
Yes.
You know what is shameful, Lennox?
Go ahead.
To see that should they get there, should Gary not going to get nothing? And Philip Alex, no, everybody know that I am not a flag bearer for Philip Alexander. Everybody know that he used to cuss me on his live every night. Right? I don't care. Right? But what he said, he put out a video, I think today or yesterday.
Okay.
What he said is true. What he said is true. There's no room for a third party. And if Philip, who as he rightly said, contested how many elections, right? And they never made a dent, or I think the most they got was 5,000 votes or something. So, what made Gary Griffith feel like he's going to get something? Why are you doing that to the people, Gary? Because all you are going to do is to suffer the people further for the next 5 years.
A fool enters where angels fear.
Want?
Fools enter where angels fear. That's all.
Fools,
yeah.
Fools rush in where angels fear to tread.
Yes.
Fools rush in and they're rushing in.
Yeah, always could do something
down,
before the election. Always could do something, and after the election, they also run and they then disappear into the into whatever amorphous form that they would have taken after. Never to hear from after that.
But Lennox, is he confident that this man so feel that he making a dent in this in this election.
Well, it's UNC gave him that, you know. UNC gave him that because he is of course relying on the amount of votes that he got in the local election. But we have to tell the people that is a fake. That is a fake.
Those are not his votes.
That's a fake premise.
It's UNC
it's
people
UNC
voted
votes.
for him.
Understand that. So he's going to be left bare, dry, and of course, as a skeleton. Without flesh. Go ahead.
That's right.
Yes.
Because we are definitely, and I know I can speak for thousands of people. Gary Griffith ain't getting our votes again.
Yes.
Because there's no alliance. You're bad talking the UNC. Everything Kamala say, you're poking holes in Kamala manifesto, just like Raul Glasgow, the fool, right? You're poking holes in the lady manifesto. You're bad talking Jolene John. You're bad talking Kamala. You call Kamala an idiot, right? And I think I said it for you.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
Send me a voice note.
Yeah, I'll
where
take
you
a look
call
at
her an idiot.
I'll take a note of it. I'll take a note and look at it. Yes.
Kiana, Lennox, and you know, somebody put up a post. He started with his nonsense again, right? He's like Facebook police now. Right? He get it good and proper Friday. He get it good and proper Friday. What I was holding back all the time not to tell him, I let him have it.
Fair enough.
I let him have it. I say, you vex, I call you a clown. I said, but you call Mrs. Pasabi says an idiot. You were the one that is only saying Jolly John could only fry chicken and make coffee. Why are you so damn insulting? Right? You wouldn't like nobody to tell you that about your wife or your son. Why are you doing that to her? And then you want to know why Kamala and them ain't calling you yet and talking to you? Nobody wants you, Gary. Nobody wants you. This round is once bitten, twice shy. We afraid you. We don't trust you.
Well, it is clear, Miss Santa Cruz, that he has made himself a monumental nuisance. Because he is becoming a nuisance.
Because we have seen examples
to the point of
it,
ad
Lennox.
nauseum, frankly. He is sickening. But of course, making the wrongs on the social media and other networks is not a successful politician make. Let me put it that way. But go ahead, my friend.
I told him that.
Yes.
I told him that. I said, when you were commissioner of police, you were doing the same thing. And you come back now, right? I said, you want to be a leader? You want to be a leader? Everything anybody say about you, you come to answer. I said, all you could tell people is they have no education. I said, so I'm pretty clapping hand and I congratulated it. I said, congratulations for being the brightest bulb in the pack. Congratulations. I said, you have to learn to calm down and pat yourself. Nobody don't want that kind of leader. Yeah. You're acting just like Rowley.
Well, I find it ironic that if it is that you were the fourth selectee, if you were the fourth selectee, how come that is first?
Yeah, I said,
when he was first selected,
I said, never voted.
I just don't understand that. I just don't understand that. Rowley give him a blight. Let me tell you what happened here. Rowley give him a blight because he came out and was prepared to, or in fact probably gave a statement with respect to the battle between Dr. Rowley and is it Munilal? No. I'm sorry. Yeah. Anand Ramlogan. Yes, you remember that? You remember that? Yeah. That tampering matter.
Because he and David West.
So
I told him that.
Rowley felt that equal to being able to manipulate him. You see, and he resisted that. Good for him. He resisted that during the course of his tenure as commissioner of police. That is what happened there. That's how we got that fourth, being the fourth place, the fourth evaluated, the fourth short on the short list. And suddenly he believes that he was number one. That is why he was selected. He was selected because Rowley had a hidden agenda for him. Of course, he resisted that.
That's right.
He resisted that. Rowley didn't get his way. And Rowley ended up saying, Rowley ended up saying that is the worst choice he ever take when he realized he couldn't get his way. My friend is a fellow that, I admire in his capacity in prior, but in this capacity, I think he is way, way, way out of his league.
He's out of his league.
Yeah.
Yes, he is out. And you see what happened? One of the things that Rowley said, right, in going against, because you remember they said the merit list was flawed.
Yes.
They couldn't take Dulal Chan.
Yes.
But the same merit list, you choose Gary Griffith. But one of the things that Rowley said that resonated with me is that he was the only honest one that handed up his device with the email scandal. That old vagabond.
No, it wasn't that at all. It was Gary Griffith for Rowley is well, let me say, is a convertible PNM. Let me put it that way, and would have, of course, because you see,
I scratch your back, you
if it wasn't that, if it wasn't that, Rowley could not have had the cause to say that is the worst choice that he would have made, because he had to tarnish him. He had to tarnish him now that he is, of course, let's say, revealing some of the what ought to have been clandestine or secrets that he and Rowley would have engaged in, and Rowley has to damage that by damaging his character and reputation. That is what transpired. So in terms of calculations, Rowley lost there, and in terms of course he believing that he was number one, of course he was made to take the very bitter pill that in fact he is not so.
But Lennox, you remember when he said that he has so much information on Rowley could bring down the government? All that we reminded him of on the chat.
That's
all of that. I said, where's the information? They can continue and remain in opposition. I said, yeah, we will be in opposition because of people like all here. I said, where was all this information that you had on Rowley, right? That you were going to bring down the government. Bring it out now. Bring it on. But it was just a big lie. It was just showing off.
It could have only brought down the government if he, as Commissioner of Police, took action on it then. Now that you are outside of the system.
He could have been a whistleblower. He could have been a whistleblower, but they didn't know. What he didn't know is that they were blowing the whistle on him.
But that's what I'm saying, that he should have taken action then, whether it be purporting or orchestrating a whistleblowing scenario as the case may be. But he felt that he was indispensable. But of course, Rowley and they is not about indispensability based on possibly ability, but it's based on loyalty to the criminal enterprise that the PNM has morphed into under more so Keith Christopher Rowley, the arch nemesis of the people and the arch mafia father of the PNM.
But Lennox, you remember I think what dirty the water more was when he came out and he said that he was paid 48 million to find evidence on the UNC.
Yes, that was good, but it had no impact.
Really pissed off. Yeah.
It had no impact at that time. At that time, a different commissioner would have been in place, groveling and
it's only after he came out he said that,
asking Rowley how high to jump. Or which one to go behind? Is it that you go behind Farley because they lost drastically in Tobago? That kind of individual Rowley would have preferred, and he eventually got it with the 11th place candidate, who is now, of course, the Commissioner of Police, Earl Christopher. So we understand, we know Rowley and all of you sycophants and apologists and persons who prefer you don't hear the reality. Well, you're going to damn well hear it. Here on the Corridor Transformation, on the Ground Report, and all of the platforms where we can, of course, have a listening there.
The next thing that we have to campaign on,
go ahead.
Imagine Marvin Gonzalez is saying that the citizens there, I send the clip for you. The citizens have to help TNTech pay the $4 billion gas bill. Lennox, I don't want to repeat what it is be saying, but if he lose the election, what they could do him? I don't want to repeat it, you understand? But Lennox, oh Jesus Christ, you want to tell me what more? That is why people have to put that in the back of their minds. Should they win the next election, we going to get that increase in TNTech bill.
But of course, quite apart from the rigors and the disaster and the pain of paying property tax, they are not business that you are a single salaried citizen, you know. They ain't business with that.
On a fixed income.
And therefore, the reduction in your disposable income is so acute that the people are now deciding whether to pay the electricity bill or buy an extra can of foodstuff or buy vegetables as opposed to maybe process the food. All of that are part and parcel of the thinking and the rationalization of the population. We are in a tremendously difficult situation caused by them, Rowley and his gang.
Yeah.
Understand that?
And his government.
Yes.
Yes, Lennox. And it's very unfair now to come. But I tell you, we have to campaign on that from tomorrow. Why should we, the citizens, have to pay that $4 billion of TNT gas bill? We never had to pay that before with any other government. Why now, when things are harder?
Is because they are facing the IMF, the reserves are about $4 billion, I suspect. It means, therefore, not like what we're only trying to use the HSF, that, of course, is self-augmenting. But where he had a duty and responsibility to expand the economy, it has shrunk. And utilizing the reserves, that is the measurement. That is the international standard. You use the reserve to determine how much months of import you have. But you use the HSF, it seems, clearly has more money in it than the reserve. You see, they're telling us it has 6 billion. Listen, they tell us it has 6 billion. But the HSF has just about 6 billion now. So why would you not use the standard, which is, of course, the reserve, to make that statement? No, you use the HSF. So it tells me, my common sense tells me, that the reserves is much less than 6 billion. It has to be in the vicinity of about 4 billion.
Because Lennox, you at Williams, I think I sent you that clip too, is saying that the HSF is good, it's over 6 million. It going back to what it was. You hear lie, Lennox? That is lie. These bitches and them will never stop lying.
No.
They lie.
They have to prevent themselves from getting handcuffs and the silver bracelets. Silver bracelets and blue lights.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to
They
avoid.
have the crayfish. They have the crayfish posse. Spreading the lies. Like one telling me that Kamala them is not to get back here because if she get back here, they're going to bring back all the old $100 bills and the teeth. I say, really? I say, you better check. Yeah. You better check Camille handbag and see how much old money you have inside it that you want to change.
Well, let us...
Lennox, let me tell you something. These people sick.
Let us disabuse that one time. Yeah? Let us disabuse that and explain that one time. The only so Rowley and they could have engaged in the replacement of the cotton notes for the polymer, they must be able to produce the same amount that is supposed to be circulating. Right? The same amount of cotton supposed to be. And it was estimated that over 80 million of those notes were in circulation, amounting to about $4 billion thereabout. All right? So, but because of the measure that they would have taken, and some people didn't want to go through the hassle because they were also threatening with, of course, the
because they had to say where they get the money from.
The financial task force, all of them, and the banks, of course, were in cahoots with them to thief people's mattress money. That is what that was all about. But the point I'm making, I'm saying all that to say that at the end of the day, we were told by Imbert and Rowley that over 500 million, $500 million was never returned.
Yeah.
It was never returned. So therefore, one has to ask the question, what happened to that money? Well, that would have been money that they could have used in addition to what they would have borrowed and what they would have met and what they would have consumed from the heritage and what they would have consumed from the reserves. Understand that?
Right.
That is the essence of it. It has nothing to do with anything else. Let me just tell
no,
this
but you see,
person.
it was easier to blame the UNC thief the money.
Yeah, just
anyway,
hold on.
Lennox, it was nice chatting with
Yes,
you, and have
yes,
a good
yes.
night. I'm listening to
Yes,
you.
yes, yes.
All right, later.
I like the interaction. I think this is a wonderful development. And of course, from next week, people, I will be communicating with shakers and movers, whether it be parliamentarians, as the case may be. Call them from 8 o'clock as soon as we start. We don't want to take them too late. We don't want to disturb their family life either, but we'll be taking them by surprise, unplanned, helter-skelter, not designed, but whosoever we get to, we will certainly, of course, chat with them. Caller, just hello? All right, we lost that caller. All right, that caller is back. Let me just take this caller. Professor, good night, welcome. 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 Professor, good night.
Good night, Lennox.
Yes, good night to you.
Lennox.
Hey.
People wasting time behind Gary Griffith, you know. He done only few.
No, well, I think he's getting,
election. You know that.
I think he is bitter, and he's getting a bitter taste of his own medicine.
Let me tell you something,
that Rara Mountain and that garrulous and loquacious tendency.
Let me tell you something. According to Basil Pandey, politics and morality here, you.
Yes.
So don't be surprised. Somewhere down the street, you ain't see Gary coming, begging back. With camera, and they make back up, and I see them some amalgam down the road.
Yeah, I would be surprised. I would be surprised. I would not be surprised. So
leave here alone. They chirp in the window, back in the window, wherever he wanted to do. Don't even study.
Yeah.
I wouldn't waste my time for Miss Santa Cruz on that man.
Yeah.
Because that is a just waste of energy behind him. Leave him alone.
Yeah.
They continue down the downward spiral.
The only problem here is that if that scenario manifested itself, the level of should I say integrity that could be salvaged will certainly be in question, because I mean he did some verbal damage and position, should I say poisoning that would make it very difficult to be palatable for a lot of persons having regard to that, and whether or not that should be an arrangement.
The great Jack Warner was in the same boat.
Yeah. No. The point I'm making is
Lennox, I tell you, leave it there for politics and morality we own.
Yeah.
That go play out in the end. I tell you so that Kamlan, he will come to some arrangement down the road, because Kamlan is a forgiving person, and you will see he coming begging back. And you could see Marv Kodo, that was when they're begging.
But you see, you introduce a point where you're saying that the morality of its own extends to the possibility of having some kind of accommodation. So you see, so it has to be discussed. And the point I'm making finally is that clearly, based on all of the antecedents, the conditionalities of coming together would be, of course, a position of the UNC. The UNC will dominate the whole
yes,
discussion.
But he have to come back and beg.
Yeah. That's right, exactly. That's the point I'm making. That's the point I'm making.
Listen,
all right, yes.
Why you think the PNM and paying he no mind? They're doing the right thing because it's a non-entity.
Yes.
The PNM is studying going up against the UNC, nothing, nobody else, you know.
Yeah.
All they should realize how PNX run the election machinery. They've been studying Gary and whoever it is, them have no relevance.
Yeah, well, it's obvious. The UNC is the target for the PNM, and vice versa,
right.
and vice versa. So the UNC also know that he is not an entity as well. But as I say, if he wants relevance and wants to survive, longevity if necessary, of course, he would have boxed himself into a position where his negotiating, should I say, fortunes or elements would have been drastically reduced. That's the point I'm making. All right, my friend. I have another person there.
Something.
Go ahead.
Election is not today. It's not tomorrow, it's next year, right?
Yes.
So every dot, every T,
election,
and every road
politics are there,
in
politics
front
is
of you
plenty.
going to be paved before that time.
Yeah.
And watch, wait and see.
Okay then.
Things will
Thank
turn
you.
out that way.
Hi, my friend. Have a good one. Yes, pleasant good night. Sorry about that, for that holding on. A pleasant good night. Welcome.
A pleasant good night to you, Mr. Lennox, and all your listeners.
Yes, good night to you as well. Very hectic night, boy. Yes.
Yeah, let us share this live.
Yes. Share, people.
Lennox.
I just forget to say it.
No.
So thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, to share it. Let's share. We are very generous.
Yes.
Let's share.
Magnanimous. Yes.
So, Mr. Lennox, I like your discussion and your little interaction.
Yes.
So I will try now to, excuse me, try to make myself a little small fool. Now, my little stupid ability show me that the EBC have the report, right? And they compile the report after every general election since its inception. And you will see now that while we're going along as this momentum start, and me and you, and I and you, me and you, and I and you had this discussion that come August of this year, you will start to see all the hocus pocus and all the machinery at full fire at the UNC.
Yes.
So what I'm getting at is that what we have to start to do too is to show the statistics from the EBC after they give them the general election to rule for this 5 years here, that how much voters did not voted, just didn't come out and vote, and how much the PNM had won the seat by. And I to show that the UNC people and the activists and them, when they lie and they relax themselves, that's how the PNM run away with the election. Because it's really sad to see. But when I come back to Mr. Captain Gary Griffith, with all due respect, sir, you say that third party does help win an election. But it's not that on the siders, where is the statistics on BBC? It's not showing. But what I want to ask him, that the great MSJ, led by David Abdullah, who was very fiery, he boiler was not Baji in a pot. Because why? They were fired. They come to the United National Congress and all of them know all the ills. But none of them see the ills of the PNM. And they try to tell the people vote for them because they are the best product and the best machinery. But it shows that they have something, because when the MSJ, right, you can see it was something that hurting them, and they wanted more than they could get. So they launched a campaign against the UNC. But they never backed up the PNM. Gary, I would like to ask tonight, Sir Captain, is it just something that you have to be bargained for to come out and split the vote to ensure that the PNM go back in? Because I can't see COP, the Congress of the People, they had over 100 and something thousand votes. And they couldn't get a senator to go into the parliament. So we the people have to understand that all these small parties and them, let them talk and understand that they don't make a difference. What I'm looking at now is the sugar workers, the farmers and them. They sort of raising their head and they're talking now after how much years they're suffering for the money. They get hoodwinked last year that they're going to get the land and social media brief, and they're not talking about the issue. National Security Minister, he told them lie on national TV. The education minister come up and blatantly lie, and money has been spent, and that is not misbehaving in public office. Yeah? And then you're seeing all the wickedness they do to the people, and we focus on the third party and these fellas and them. At least Mr. Philip Alexander get a little bit of sense and understanding that here what's going on. Kamala has she ways and whatever. But as we see it, that as the last caller say, and you will say, you see, politics is a morality own. So we went and talk them. That's what the PNM want. Make kucho, and then after have the people divided. Because with 19 seats, Mr. Lennox, 19 seats, and the PNM have nothing to come to the population with. Only now to develop the social program, food care, and quick fix. And before I leave tonight, Mr. Marvin Gonzal and Mr. Youth Affairs Minister, Foster Cummins, I would like to ask you guys, right? Mr. Foster Cummins, where is the Chatham Youth Camp and how much it take? And Mr. Marvin Gonzal, we had a director, a board chairman who was working very furiously on the bring a foreigner to do what? To tell me conserve water now. Have a nice night.
I hear you, my friend. I hear you. Of course, on another occasion, we will do some in-depth analysis as to, and to, of course, generate the veracity or the truth of, or indeed look at other variables and scenarios that is different from, of course, the assessment of Gary Griffith and others. Because it will be interesting. And, of course, I expect that all of that will amalgamate here, and we'll be able, of course, to decipher and to see what are the best scenarios. Of course, we know the minimum is that the UNC will get 21 seats. We know that for sure, right? As the caller rightly said, 19 is just 2 more, right? So we know that for sure. Of course, my position is that the UNC will get 27 seats, and therefore making it a constitutional majority. Of course, is it nestled in wishful thinking? I venture to say no. I would have done my own analyses based on past records, just as Gary Griffith would have claimed. But of course, statistics can be utilized for whatever purpose that one would like it to be, especially if you are insincere. I can tell you that my position is one of sincerity, and it's going to be deep and wide, because of course at the end of the day, the interventions, which of course was the subject of this segment of our discourse tonight, pertains to only on the side as to whether or not UNC could gain government, and not on the side that PNM could lose government. And we need, of course, to dispel that and to, of course, put it in perspective. But that will be the subject of another night. I don't think we could do that tonight, having regard to the fact that it's already 5 minutes past 10 o'clock. But let me just quickly touch what I wanted to touch on fundamentally tonight, and which is, of course, the crime situation.
Licensing officers conduct search and seize belongings of Secretary James. A search warrant was issued for Assemblyman Trevor James on Thursday evening by licensing officers. The warrant alleged that James had illegally obtained an inspection sticker for his private vehicle. As a result, officers visited his home in Signal Hill and seized his phone. More on this story from Candice Jackson.
Let's start from the beginning.
Officers conduct search and seize belongings of Secretary James. A search warrant was issued for Assemblyman Trevor James on Thursday evening by licensing officers. The warrant alleged that James had illegally obtained an inspection sticker for his private vehicle. As a result, officers visited his home in Signal Hill and seized his phone. More on this story from Candice Jackson.
Assemblyman Trevor James, Secretary of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development, is the latest THA official to face a warrant. This time, licensing officers allege that James illegally obtained an inspection sticker for his personal vehicle.
The warrant is at best vague, and it seems to suggest that this search and this seizure of my devices is consequent to a belief that I somehow acquired a certification sticker on the vehicle.
The search warrant signed by Master Sukraj Goswami stated that James's phone may contain evidence to support the allegations of his illegal actions in obtaining the inspection sticker.
Nothing could be further from the truth.
James described the warrant as nothing short of a political attack on the THA administration.
It was an attempt by officers from Trinidad, possibly instructed by politicians in Trinidad, to undertake this action, to say to Tobago, the people that you have elected are of no consequence to us, and we can do to them as we please, expecting maybe that I would resist.
James did not resist and allowed officers to inspect his vehicle and seize his iPhone 15.
There is no doubt in my mind whatsoever as to the reaches of the PNM. The reaches to the PNM into every statutory body in Trinidad and Tobago. There is no doubt in my mind that the PNM can have access to and could impact the decision-making process of any and every statutory authority in Trinidad and Tobago.
James stated that the actions were an attempt to embarrass him and his family, and he is preparing to take legal action against the licensing office. Meanwhile, he expressed his intention to contest the upcoming general elections, should they be called, in an effort to address and change the relationship between Trinidad and Tobago to prevent such actions in the future.
This is the tipping point. This is the tipping point. The decision, of course, is not mine, but I'm offering myself publicly to the party and to the people of Tobago.
James said it does not matter whether he contests the Tobago East or West seat, leaving the decision to the Tobago People's Party, the TPP, on whether they are willing to have him as a candidate.
I will just ask this question. This is coming from Elizabeth Williams from Tobago.
This is, of course, the latest
she said
press conference by the Ministry of National Security and members of the police service.
As a PNM search, could you comment on it?
Just there, we have come together this morning.
Watch how Heinz is trying to avoid it too.
About what they must
is it silence
in response
being consent? Is it true then?
As we said. And
let's play that part again.
Between Trinidad and Tobago to prevent such actions in the future.
This is the tipping point. This is the tipping point. The decision, of course, is not mine, but I'm offering myself publicly to the party and to the people of Tobago.
James said it does not matter whether he contests the Tobago East or West seat, leaving the decision to the Tobago People's Party, the TPP, on whether they are willing to have him as a candidate.
I will just ask this question. This is coming from Elizabeth Williams from Tobago. She said the Tobago People's Party has labeled the search of Mr. James's home as a PNM search. Could you comment on it?
Just there, we have come together this morning to report to the national community about what they must expect in response to the upsurge in crime, as we said. And I think
he's telling them what to ask
that you would
that
focus on that so that the public would benefit.
Want to defend the indefensible.
What this forum is really intended for.
One last thing. In 2012, when the Prime Minister would have occupied the opposition benches at that time, he made a statement then that the government can't deal with crime.
Good question, journalist.
That the government itself is part of the problem. It's 12 years later, and we're seeing, of course, the problem is worse, and we're seeing higher, murder stats. And Dr. Rowley, by that standard now, can you say, sitting there, are you willing, as Minister of National Security, can you accept that pronouncement now? because we're seeing that you're coming
Listen
here
to his
give a
answer.
report to the nation.
He answer yet.
What can be done?
He
and
gone
what
all
can be
over
done.
the world.
But of course, we're seeing the
And all
figures
around.
going up. We're seeing that fear, I mean, the trauma, the fear is there. So can you now, judging by what he would have said then, going with that?
As Akash Samaru alluded to in one of his interventions earlier, that which you have described is not new. Those of us who have been around long enough, we would have seen this kind of upsurge from time to time. So all we are doing here today is presenting to you, the national community, what the response from law enforcement will be in relation to the upsurge that is traumatizing the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
Remember, the question was, Dr. Rowley said when he was in opposition, very specific, that a government that cannot treat with a crime situation is part of the problem, and they therefore should be making its exit. Here, Hines, as if that question was never asked. Let's continue. Let's continue. These fellas are total asses. I doubt they're worthy of eating oats.
Today, suppressing it, eradicating it where it is possible, using the laws and the Constitution and the tremendous experience and hard work of the police service, supported by the Defence Force. And as Minister Scotland urged, the personal responsibility that we expect from every single right-thinking citizen.
All that though, hyperboles.
That we
Plain
all
as
in
if
the
he
whole of the government,
talking and
whole
making
of
sense.
society
Watch him.
Context, where we, the government, in last year, I think it was, or year before, last year, identified this crime problem as a public health concern.
All day God.
And treating it as such.
Hines, the woman asks if Rowley is prepared to stand by his word and resign the government.
One of us to be sober, to be reflective, and to do whatever we can, wherever we are, to pushing back the situation
man
for
gone
all
mad.
of our collective benefit. That is the focus.
Crime in Trinidad and Tobago is not just murder. Very same thing that a thieving minister is doing. That is trying to get money that he should not be having.
Yeah, you and your cohorts.
For us to declare violence as a public health emergency. For us to declare violence as a public health emergency.
The homicide rate in TNT in 2019 was 29.3 per 100,000. 29.3 dead, murder, per 100,000. And that is higher than the global average. The global average is 6.1 per 100,000. Look how way up. Only this last week, Trinidad and Tobago has now been relegated in the top 7 most violent criminal country in the world. We are put at number 6 under this Rowley government. And this man comes today and has nothing to tell us. Then, remember Rowley saying this. He says, if the government cannot deal with crime, then the government is part of the crime. What do you say now, Mr. Rowley? The parents. You don't want to blame parents, violent crime under this Rowley government. Every time, if you look at the stats, I think some of MPs shared it, every time the PNM is power, what happens? Every time the PNM is in power, crime rises. Every single time. And as Anita told us, they have been in government for the longest time in our country. And so today, across our country, we are living in fear. Our nation is under siege. On the last PNM government, I told you, all the serious crimes in the country, you remember, bad as that was, then it became a new kind of wave of kidnappings, new crimes. Well, just told us that. Now all the regular serious crimes, and on top of that, what? Home invasions. What a horrifying place we are now. Rampant home invasion. This morning, Mr. Rowley was busy fighting crime. The only way he knows how to fight crime. talk, talk, and more talk. And tomorrow will be talk, talk, and more talk. And going on 8 years, all they've been doing is talk, talk, talk. But I want to tell you, we will not only just talk the talk, the UNC will walk the walk to deal with crime in Trinidad and Tobago. They have closed down all the training opportunities. When you listen to Anita, all the schools closed down, all the job opportunities. When you do that, what's going to happen? You see again, you need Panadol, yes, you don't have a job. But what is really, really wrong? It is what we call a socio-economic problem. But I don't think they understand those kinds of words. That is why our society is in decay. That is why our economy has collapsed. And their way to fight it is to bring all these people here after 8 years and not give us one idea. I listened then and I listened after because they were carried live. At the end of the day, not one plan, not one policy.
Of course, you're referring to that crime symposium at our expense, taxpayers' expense, so saying that crime is a what? Is a public health
propaganda.
Well, I consider it madness.
Remembering. I just said, don't forget, we must always remember their incompetence, their inability to govern. So while they talk and talk and talk, people are under siege. The next thing he did was to blame USA manufacturers. What's saying is them making gun. Let me ask you something. Are these manufacturers making motor cars too? Don't motor cars kill people? What do you do? Ban these manufacturers? What cutlass and knife? Huh? What about Gramaxone? You see how ridiculous it is that you're blaming the US when you cannot lock down your own borders. You cannot prevent these things from coming. That's your job. What you want the US to do?
I want to call on the bishop to call on his colleagues to assume a greater responsibility in calling on the national community, especially parents, to take responsibility for their progeny.
Unless we enlist the help of God, we will be working in vain. Unless we enlist the help of God, we will be working in vain.
Call on the Prime Minister to do something about crime. I'm not in your bedroom, I'm not in the choice of men. You're losing the war against the criminal element, but you hold the government accountable, and the government must be held accountable. The countries are washed in blood. There isn't a news item in this country where there isn't a good chance that a major part of the news is who killed who. We're taking the advice from you, the people, and when you have had enough of what we have done, you know exactly what to do. You know what to do.
Your vote will decide our destiny. Your vote will decide.
Yes, people, that is what we know to do. In the fullness of time, we must call election. We have to call election because we can do better and must do better.
The people of this country are quite correctly holding this government accountable to secure the country and to make you feel safe. You're losing the war against the criminal element, but you hold the government accountable, and the government must be held accountable. The countries are washed in blood. There isn't a news item in this country where there isn't a good chance that a major part of the news is who killed who. We're taking the advice from you, the people, and when you have had enough of what we have done, you know exactly what to do. You know what to do.
Millions of dollars. Don't trust none of them. None of them is a real problem. They're doing what they want, so they be fucked up. We not voting talking PNM. We not voting. Them talking PNM. King Rowley, King Imbert, King Forrest, King Scott, living high, dictatorship style.
Rowley saying this. He says, if the government cannot deal with crime, then the government is part of the crime. What do you say now, Mr. Rowley? The parents. You don't want to blame parents.
When PM Rowley was in opposition, he said, anytime a government resorts to blaming the opposition for its failure to deliver on their mandate and their responsibilities to the people, it is a clear sign that they have accepted that they have outlived their usefulness. Why hypocritical PM Rowley is not out of office by taking his own advice? Obviously, he even lied to himself. When PM Rowley was in opposition, he said, anytime a government resorts to blaming the opposition for its failure to deliver on their mandate and their responsibilities to the people, it is a clear sign that they have accepted that they have outlived their usefulness. Why hypocritical PM Rowley is not out of office by taking his own advice? Obviously, he even lied to himself.
Rowley saying this. He says, if the government cannot deal with crime, then the government is part of the crime. What do you say now, Mr. Rowley? What do you say now, Mr. Rowley? What do you say now, Mr. Rowley?
Licensing officers conduct search and seize belongings of Secretary James. A search warrant was issued for Assemblyman Trevor James on Thursday evening by licensing officers. The warrant alleged that James had illegally obtained an inspection sticker for his private vehicle. As a result, officers visited his home in Signal Hill and seized his phone. One this story from Dennis Jackson.
God is standing by. Hold on, yeah. When you have heartaches, don't cry. Oh no. Just remember that God is standing by. Sometime when your burden is down, just remember God is standing.
Yes, people, of course, not only does it mark Sunday, but of course it marks the end of tonight's exercise. I just said that, well, I had a wonderful time indeed. And of course the information was just scintillating, was just dynamic. And of course I know that many of you, even those who would have been engaging the rebroadcast, so to speak, will be online, and of course very, very, very much pleased with the outcome and the information. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. And don't forget, of course, tomorrow morning, Andy, Mike, and myself, as we, of course, we continue with these and others on the ground report. I may be a bit late tomorrow. I have a television engagement around 6 o'clock, so I may not be at the beginning of the program, but certainly during the course of the program up to 9 o'clock. And we have some programming changes. Remember, of course, on the corridor, we will be, of course, calling shakers and movers, parliamentarians and so on, impromptu, on script, and I trust that we will be successful, as we hope that they will respond, even though the time will be a time when people will be, of course, either winding down or settling down with their families, etc. But that be as it may, the situation is such that we have to work and we have to, of course, engage. That being as it may, have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless. Bye-bye.
was a curve, and the storm